Let's do it one more time. We're going to take two. Okay, we're back. Okay, this is totally amazing. Shake it off. Try it again. Hey everyone, it's me, Sean Capri, and welcome to episode 90 of If We Were at Nintendo. It's here on youtube.com/WeTheNerdy. It's a brand new rebooted version. We've got guests, we've got Joseph. It's going to be amazing. But before we get into things, I should thank our amazing people at patreon.com/makeusbetter, like our platinum executive producer, Mr. Corey Hicks, and our gentleman executive producers, Nick Milicia from Next Level Games, Joel Brooks, James Johnson, Dr. Doom, Jesse Armstrong, Glauco Shaffer, David Ray, Aaron Doherty, Martini Jean, and Mr. Moody. Guys, I think that's actually working. I'm going to explain myself to everybody here. Okay, yes, please, God, make us better. Joseph. Hi, Joseph. How are you doing, man?
I'm a little embarrassed. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
I thought someone said bring hats, and I brought the most festive hat
I have a hat. I'm glad to have you, man. I'm glad things are working. We're going to get into why the show looks like such a garbage truck on fire in a second. But before we do, we are here with some esteemed guests. We rolled out the red carpet, and then we poured gasoline and lit it on fire.
Oh, God. Don't worry, man. This show, it's all about getting out the kinks. You know what I mean?
Joe sounded low, and that was my fault. Guys, before we introduce the guests, thank you so much for your patience and for walking through. We're a little late here. My computer crashed just before the show. It's been not booting all morning and all afternoon. And yes, thank you, Andy. I'm so glad that it's actually working. This is like what did I tell you guys? Like 10 minutes before we were going to start that nothing's working. And we were able to cobble this whole setup together. I promise it will be better next week. But we're here with two guests. If We're at Nintendo is now a guest show. And if you guys want to be part on, it's easy. Just tweet at me at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. We're here with Justin Masson, Jacob Rush. Justin Masson, how are you doing, my friend?
I am doing well, sir. It is a balmy 8:45 p.m. In Ireland, and I am sipping some beers with you. So I am mighty happy to be here,
got to do with anything? Is balmy the temperature? Gary, we need to have you on, man. That would be amazing. Patrick's in the chat. Gary Gray's in the chat.
Shut up, Gary Gray. This is my show right now. Move along.
No.
Whoa.
Shots fired.
How's Nintendo Dads, dude? How's it going? How's Nintendo Dads? I heard you're taking shots at us on the last episode.
Taking shots at you guys with what?
You know, just canceling shows, and you probably didn't even think about it more than a second.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah, and I cried myself to sleep.
Apparently, it hurt some feelings.
All right, man.
We're doing all right.
All right, well, that's enough from you. Jacob Rush is here from Nintendo Nostalgia. Jacob, man, thanks for coming, dude.
Thanks for having me. I'm so ecstatic to be here. This is I'm like with this a legendary cast right now, and I'm very honored.
Here's the thing, guys. I'm gonna basically treat the new If We're at Nintendo like I treated dating Chelsea in the beginning. You start in the basement. Like you don't impress. You don't do anything nice. It's just we're gonna start here. It's only gonna get better. That's the mentality.
Yeah.
And I've got windows everywhere. I'm not even looking at the screen, guys. We have a whole bunch of topics to get to. And I'm naming the topics after our guests, by the way. So we're not going to do I was going to say topic 1 and topic 2, and I thought that would be disrespectful for whoever came second. And I thought maybe doing topic 1 or A or something else. But we're going to have this as topic Masson and topic Rush. And I thought that sounded so badass to just have topic Masson.
Rush sounds deadly. Mm-hmm. Do you mean that sounds like something that you're going to get a kick to the face about?
Topic Rush.
It's a nice last name to have, honestly. It's pretty cool. And I used to play football my whole life, and I was on defense, and when you just manhandle another lineman, you can't handle the rush is what I'd say.
Shit. That is
Topic Masson sounds like some extra sauce you're putting on a cheeseburger.
Like your pick,
right? Do you want some extra Topic Masson on that? Yes, I do.
There you go. I like that.
That's so funny. Guys, thank you so much for being guests on the show. And Joseph, of course. Yes. I don't know what we're going to do with you on this show, man. I think that today we're just trying to kickstart a new version of If We're at Nintendo. But you're the door is always open for you, just in case you didn't know. This is the first time we're actually talking about this.
I'll consider it.
Okay. Well, we wanted Joseph and I at the start, anyways. We wanted to say thank you everybody for sticking with us with Make Us Better. We've been hit with a bit of a punch to the gut lately, and we're with Bobby. And if you're watching, Bobby, we love you very much. And if you're listening, we are with you and support the break that you are taking, the little hiatus. But we wanted to. I had a special little segment ready on my other computer. Like, it had the intro paid homage to Bobby, and it was really nice. But instead, I guess we'll do a couple shout outs to people in the chat. Gary Gray is in the chat. Nintendo Talk Patrick, my boy, is in the chat. Joey Splats, Joel Brooks. Holy crap, guys. There's probably people who left because we were a little late, and I apologize for that. The Informant, Andy Penizek, is in there. Aaron Doherty. Dust to Dust. You should probably declare who you are. I don't know who you are. That's all. That's all our shout outs, guys. Do you guys have any shout outs? Justin Masson, do you have any shout outs you'd like to start the show?
Shout outs. You know what? I am going to shout out to Gary Gray. I am going to shout out Gary. I just
told him to shut up.
I know. I told him I busted his balls a couple moments ago. Mm-hmm. But I do want to give him a huge shout out. So Gary was kind enough to go over to London for us and did some hands-on with Nintendo Labo recently. And then he got up at 2:00 in the morning to go to London, get hands-on with Labo, played with that, and then came back and woke up wicked early to be on our podcast last week to talk about it. So big shout out to Gary Gray and all the awesome stuff he's doing over there at Nintendo Nostalgia, or not Nintendo Nostalgia, Nintendo Village as well. So
he just was on.
And I think big shout out to Bobby for kind of finally making space for me to come on this podcast.
That's right.
That was really what I was looking for. Was he had to move? It was either Sean or Bobby had to get out of the way so I could come on. We've had a long conversation, but thank you. Yeah, that's great. Of course, I joke. Bobby knows that as well. So
I always knew the show would be back. Even when Bobby and I did our very last episode together, I was like, this isn't it. I don't know why I felt that way, but I just knew it in my heart.
I legitimately think you should call this if we ran Nintendo the next generation, and you should have the Star Trek blockiness of it, and an intro and all that kind of stuff.
It's just a little
Star
flashier.
Fox flying in.
Well, we definitely can't have Star Fox Zero.
No, nobody wants that.
We don't want that. We just want the next generation, not the latest generation.
Yeah, exactly.
The next gen.
Jacob Rush, can I throw it to you? Do you have any shout outs? I'm going to put you on the spot here, but you got to know when you come on this show, we're going to be doing some shout outs at the beginning.
I do. I know that. I expected that. And I was thinking, and I thought about Bobby as well, but Justin already did that. I'm giving a shout out to my own co-host, Ryan, because we've listened to If We Ran Nintendo since the start. Mm-hmm. And I have just got to say, Ryan, I beat you to the punch, and I'm the guest here first before you. Just like I've been on Nintendo Dads, and you haven't. So it's a shout out to you, buddy. I made it to the promised land.
Man, this is a new version of this show. Oh my gosh, we're just launching. I love it.
God, all right. Well,
Joseph,
I guess that ends with me, right?
Yeah, say something nice, man.
So we thanked Bobby, right? First, I want to give a huge shout out to Toby as well. But I also want to give a shout out to Bobby's ego that will be missing here on the show. Who else is going to go out there and buy things that nobody else will, what was it? What did he buy the other day? He bought Batman on the Wii U.
Yeah.
Who would do that other than Bobby?
Yep.
So
I actually did that.
Shout out to Bobby's wallet for taking the hits that no other wallet would.
Big bucks.
And I want to also give a serious shout out to Patrick over at Nintendo Talk. I just did the 3rd episode of the Bat-Bit show.
Nice, man.
With him, and oh my God, we had technical difficulties too, Sean. Don't worry. Halfway through the show, it just bam, his computer crashed. So we had to salvage some things too. But nonetheless, and my barking dog aside, I'm super excited to be here, and I'm super excited for this show. So
the problem is that this is happening on a Sunday. I think that's the main thing. We got to get the show back onto Monday, but of course we had to accommodate for. Here's the thing: on If We Were on Nintendo, if Justin Masson's going to be on the show, we'll make changes. I don't think they do that on Nintendo Dads. Justin, what time do you wake up for Nintendo Dads for your own show?
I wake up at 3:30 a.m. every Friday morning. I go down for a cup of tea, and they start the show at 4. And it's one of the reasons why you sometimes get surly Justin. Surly, cranky Justin. So that's why I just thought I'd have a couple beers right now, and I would make that experience similar, except, sleep, from a lack of sleep, this will be just booze induced.
Just going to sleep.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Too.
I like it. Well, guys, why don't we don't want to spend 73 minutes with shout-outs and everything, because Todd Oxtra will be really upset with us. It's the time out for Todd Oxtra topics, or some combination of those words. Mr. Masson, why don't we talk about topic Masson? Do you want to introduce it?
I do, yeah. So I was really happy. I love the fact that you guys always bring really cool topics to the show, and I thought, man, Sean, you put a lot of pressure on, like, hey, let's come up with a topic, bring something good. I'm like, oh, it's the reboot. What do I got to bring? So I put my head together for like a good 30 seconds and really thought about something.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you really did.
And I came forward with this idea. So believe it or not, guys, like in just a couple of days from now, the Nintendo Switch will be hitting its 1-year birthday. Right? We all remember that time. So my thought is here, and of course this is if we ran Nintendo. So if we have the ability to look backwards and tell you what we would have done, my question to you is, what would you have done in Nintendo's first year with the Nintendo Switch? What would you have done differently to get us to where we are? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What things would you have done differently in year one?
Do you want to go ahead and start? So I should start by this. I intend on because I'm bringing on 2 guests, and now today, especially, we've got 4 people. This could really end up, 4 people I think is often too much. So I'm going to basically just be kind of like moderating the conversation, and then slamming Nintendo whenever I get a chance. But for the most part, this is an open conversation for the guests. That's kind of the new role that I'll be playing. Everybody knows I hate Nintendo with a fiery passion. I only have 2 Switches. I only bought 2 Wii U's. So like, what do I know about anything? But I really want to hear from the guests. So just so you guys know, I'm going to be more probing and prompting the conversation more than anything. Justin, why don't we start with you, man?
Sure.
And even on that note, when do you consider the first year? Do you think that it's when the system launches, or do you think maybe even when we hear about it, in which case we already are into year 2?
Yeah, no, mine would be when it actually hits our consumer hands. Okay. So that would be March 3rd, I believe it was, of 2017, memory. Right? So we're just shy of that, year mark. So yeah, I think overall, I think it's a solid year. There are a couple things that stood out for me that I would say I would definitely want to adjust that. And I'll give you a couple bits off the top here. First, one of the first things I would have done is I would have made sure that we had cloud saving and cloud storage available off the hop. If not off the hop, within the first 3 months of the device being launched. Because I think at that point, within the first 3 months, we didn't have massive loads of games where we're starting to have to manage our problems. But I think I would have wanted that solved within the first 3 months. So that's number one. That would have been priority number one. Number 2, having a clear, defined communication plan regarding online strategy. Like, what is the online play? When does that launch? Exactly what is included in that, and what are the price tags associated with that? And I would have that launched before the end of my first year. So right around this time, it would definitely have been launched at least, at the latest.
Yep.
Somebody would be losing their job if March 4th, 2018 rolls around and that ain't launched. You're getting fired.
I could just imagine if Justin Masson ran Nintendo, like he's drinking beers and just firing people left, right, and center.
That's how I would do it. So those are a couple of things off top. I also would not have launched Splatoon 2 when they did. I think that was
okay. Let's talk about this. Okay,
yes. Point.
Justin or Jacob, you agree with that? I disagree. I think. I mean, it's. I guess are we playing this from the benefit of hindsight? Where now that we know how things panned out, maybe that wasn't the best thing. Like, because it kind of killed ARMS. I would argue, and I played devil's advocate here, that it was the perfect time. ARMS didn't stick around long enough for people to realize that it wasn't really all that great. And then we got Splatoon, and it filled a spot that we needed a game. It played the role of a new game at that point.
Yeah. If I could just jump in here for just a second.
Anytime, guys. You don't have to stay in your lane. What is this? Come on.
I think you're dead on. I think the hype with ARMS died incredibly fast. And yeah, I would say partially that is to do with Splatoon, but also Splatoon is, at this point in time, their most successful, to me, new IP. So, like, I think the sales of Splatoon 2 alone, I mean, I think bolster the idea that it launched on a great time, because it launched in the middle of the summer when there's no other game in sight. And you have this kind of strategy where every single month, right, you have a game and it's an event. And so I think the problem with ARMS was it isn't a great game, because if that theory is correct and Splatoon killed ARMS, it should have also killed Mario Kart, right? Instead, Mario Kart, I think, is the second highest selling Switch title. So to me,
Joseph, that's a really good point. Aaron Doherty in the chat says he wouldn't have made ARMS, period. So I'm not sure if that's really on the table here.
And I argue that you did not. And here's the thing: we already knew coming into it that ARMS was a hot IP. It was a solid IP. We had the numbers from the Wii U to back that up, right? And I mean, Wii U numbers are pretty much garbage, anyways.
Splatoon, right?
Sorry, Splatoon. Yeah, I apologize. We had the Splatoon numbers to back up that. So we already knew we're rolling in with a hot IP. But for you to basically put one new IP, ARMS, and then 1 month later cut it under its legs, you don't give the time for the game to actually have breath. You don't give it time to have some legs behind it, to actually understand whether there's an audience for it, to move it into the space you want it to.
Yeah.
You just cut it too quickly. I'm not saying Splatoon 2 should not have come out in 2017, but it should not have been right after ARMS. You can push Splatoon. You know it's going to move numbers. Move it into a September, right? Or not even September, because you've got Odyssey maybe. Move it down the line, though. It does not need to be of July.
Nah, I see. Here's where I disagree, because for me, when it comes to Splatoon, I think again July, perfect. Not a lot of games out. I think putting it in September, and then next month is Mario Odyssey, and not to mention but the holiday rush as well. I think it might have not say destroyed the game or hurt it, it would have maybe hurt its chances of being so successful. I think if there was a player base, they would have stuck around. And I think with ARMS, announcing that there wouldn't be any DLC after December, I think shows that ARMS didn't have the strength to stand on its own as a game. So to me, I think maybe ARMS needed more time in the oven for more content. Because I know after week 2, after week 3, I was just and I'm bored. And with Splatoon, it's every week there's something else. Every month there's this huge event that we're having. So I think just Splatoon's also such a strong game.
I think ARMS didn't really find its footing until about October, which I think was one of the problems for it, right? When they began rolling out DLC characters, right? When they began the party crash modes, when they began making some changes of it. And I think by that time, the conversation is gone, right? Or at least the fan base is minimal. But had you had that same initiative, that plan, launched in June, rolled into July, rolled into August, right? You've given it that kind of time to breathe a bit more with that strategy, then I think you could have allowed it to grow. Yeah. So I think it's some sequencing they did there. I think that it very often felt like ARMS was just stepping on, or Splatoon was just stepping on ARMS, wherever it could go. I mean, I don't disagree. I think Splatoon is the stronger of the two for sure, especially when you think of their new IPs in the last 5 years. Oh yeah. But I just think that they just didn't give enough time, and maybe it should have been, hey, instead of a June launch, you move it into May. You moved it into May before E3, where it could have had some momentum.
I question if it should have even come out last year at all. I mean, I think ARMS, I don't think it was a failure. I think it obviously was successful in Nintendo's eyes. That's why they gave it some DLC, kept supporting it. And I do think the Splatoon hype killed it quicker. I did not get ARMS. I'm not advocating that I'm a big ARMS fan. I tried it out fairly and did not like it. As Bobby Pauls actually gave me crap for that on my own show. He's so funny. He gives me crap about it, and then 2 weeks later he traded it in on his own show. I was like, he's serious. So, anyways,
what a piece of garbage.
If only you were here to hear you talk about him like that.
Hot trash
for sure.
Shout out to Bobby in the chat.
But I think about where we are right now, and I'm thinking like, right now, like the only thing on my Switch I'm playing is indie games. And would ARMS have been a better game to push and you release in July? Or I'm sorry, in January of this year? Like, would that have been a game to hold? Like you said, Joseph, that it should have been in the oven a little bit longer, and I think it should have been. Yeah. They could have saved that totally for this, and we still don't have. Like, I just kind of feel like we're in this quiet time.
And I think actually you hit something really great. That it is. The problem is it needed time in the oven. Maybe you hold it onto maybe January, February, or even that could be your March game. You can launch it alongside like Kirby or something. That's a single player game. It's not going to eat up any space that ARMS is taking. So I think you could have 2 games in March, or maybe push Kirby back to April and like Mario Tennis in May. And then you have this really steady lineup, because to me, the problem right now is I don't know what's coming out in the next 6 months on the Switch, Nintendo wise, I can really care about.
Yeah, I definitely think when you look at the sequencing in 2017 or the last 365 days, I think they have made some errors in the sequencing that just haven't necessarily given I think gamers a chance to breathe in some cases, and I think games the runway that they potentially could. Right? I mean, we are now at a point where there are more games on the Nintendo Switch available to you than days of the year. Right. So let's put that in perspective, right? Where when we first came out, we were all whining about there's nothing to play. Now we're all saying, if you want to take a month off, that would be cool. Right. Yeah. Right. If you want to just put up like a sorry we're closed sign in the eShop for a month, we'll all be fine. Right. Yeah. So I think there's some sequencing, but I definitely think Nintendo, looking back, number one, you need to have figured out your cloud storage, data storage. That's priority number one. Yeah. A communication strategy clearly, and probably launched your virtual console, number 2. And number 3, figure a damn voice chat that's appropriate. Those are your 3 things that you needed to do in 2017 that I really think, if I'm going to be very honest with you, if we don't hear about these at E3 or Resolve this year, I think we're not in a good space.
Well, it's funny because Gary Gray and Aaron Doherty, I think there's a few people agreeing with what Gary Gray is saying in the chat, and I am one of them, in that it seemed to it played a role, and everything actually worked out really, really well. And I'm not sure that, I think as much as I want cloud saves, somebody pointed out the fact that you don't get cloud saves on any other system without paying for it. So that's sort of like part of a bigger conversation, that they needed the paid online piece. That's a good point. I think we can agree with that. So I slam them for not having clouds, but at the same time, I shouldn't expect it for free.
Whether it's cloud or some type of storage data,
some sort of backup would be good.
I don't care. I'm using cloud as my example, but if I can just put a USB in my computer and just drop some files and save, then I'm fine there. But you don't have a solution.
Yeah.
You don't have.
Just for Joey Splats in the chat, he says, "Sorry guys, but why do we need cloud storage? Can we please talk about this?" Sure thing, we can, buddy. So the deal is, and I think cloud saves has been an issue that's maybe blown up a little bit too big at this point. I think
it means we're bored. It means we have nothing else to complain about.
Exactly,
really.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
and I mean, when it was echoed because Brian Altano, his Switch came back after getting repaired, and all of his saves are gone. So cloud saves are important because you're playing Legend of Zelda. You want to pray to God that you have those saves. If that's just say, your Switch gets destroyed or something, you want to make sure you have.
Or you buy a new Switch, like for whatever reason, like you get another like a limited edition Switch comes out and you want to play on that one, like we've all done with our 3DS.
Or for the person who nearly had a heart attack when he thought his 7-year-old daughter deleted 85 hours of Breath of the Wild, and only found out that it was the very last save file in the auto saving that still resided my game. It's those type of things. Yeah. So I was still able to recover it, but it's those type of things. It's oh, by the way, I brought my Switch outside, or my kids grabbed it, ran outside, they dropped and smashed it. Whoops, everything's gone. By the way, I brought it out to the pub to play some games. I turned around and by the way, it's swapped or swiped. What do I do? Got to send it into Nintendo because the Joy-Con doesn't work, so I've got to bring the whole goddamn thing to you. And I lose every single thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
and for those of you who are like, oh, just pop out your SD card. No, it doesn't do it there.
That's crazy to me. That's just a weird sort of architectural decision.
So what I'm saying is any solution.
Yep.
Any
something
solution
would be
that
good.
just allows me to hold it, that's grand.
What about, okay, so you brought up the point of ARMS and Splatoon and kind of that thing. Jacob, I want to throw it to you for a little bit, man. We're being a little dominant over here. What do you think about sort of like the release schedule overall in year one? Like, are you of the mind that Nintendo did it well, or were there mistakes along the way that you would change if you ran Nintendo?
Well, I thought they did a fantastic job with. I love the trickle effect. I love that we had like a game to look forward to every single month. Mm-hmm. Whether I wanted to play them or not, I felt like they did a good job at reaching somebody, some kind of fan base. You know, like I'm not going to touch Fire Emblem Warriors with a 10-foot pole, but that appealed to somebody, you know, and I'm glad it was there. Same with Pokken Tournament and stuff. I'm kind of taking issue with what I brought up, how we should move ARMS to now. I feel like there's just this gap. Like all of a sudden they fell off the face of the earth. We went from getting news almost like every week, and I'm not trying to be entitled like we should get news all the time like this, but I just felt like they were always hitting us. Yeah. And then once Christmas hit, it's like, where'd they go? We had that off. Yeah, we had that mini direct, and then after that, what have we had? You know, and so I feel like, I know we just got Bayonetta. I just feel like they're ran themselves dry. I feel like maybe they did not plan for going into year two better. You know how like I really was hoping instead of a mini direct that we were going to get something to look forward to. I think Justin has said this before. You know, when we had the Switch, we were looking forward to Zelda. And then when they had the big direct and we were getting Zelda right after that, we were looking forward to Mario. And now I love Donkey Kong, so I got Tropical Freeze coming, but that's not a new big game in the hindsight of things. I don't have anything I'm looking forward to. We're all guessing, is it Animal Crossing? Is it Smash Port, a new Smash? That's where I think they're messing up, because like people are losing confidence in where we're heading in 2018.
What about the little... Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Justin.
So, Jacob, here's a question I'm going to ask for you. So what you're looking for, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is what we would call the major tent pole.
Yeah, that's right.
So the major tent pole of the year. So in 2017, that was Breath of the Wild and then Odyssey. But what you're saying is we don't have what that major tent pole is. Now, you can have a tent pole, and then you can have what we'd call like your B tier. And some of you are like, well, these aren't B tier characters or games. Just hold on for a second here. But like, so what's the tent pole you're looking for? Is that Animal Crossing?
Oh, no, not at all. I do not like Animal Crossing. Or Fire. I don't like Animal Crossing or Fire Emblem.
Yeah, I think you might be out of games in there, son.
Yeah, I know. Which, like I said, I'll be happy when they come because people like those. Right. No, I just felt like Nintendo did this fantastic job last year where they gave us a big game at the start, and then we had good, solid games in between. And yes, Splatoon 2 is a big game. But I would like a game that we had coming in like, I don't know, April, May, or June, and then you have the big Christmas game to look out after. So I felt like they had 2-tier games, and then they filled it with a bunch of awesome fillers with their indie titles as well. And I just don't feel like we have that right now. I feel like I don't like I like having ports of Wii U because I think they need to come, but I feel like they're throwing all the Wii U ports out now, and I feel like that should be like saved. That should be a trickle effect, not
that
Donkey Kong.
That for me is where I'm more worried, is the number of ports we're now seeing rise up, right? Is this the effect that now they don't think they have enough in their second year catalog of original non-ported content to begin bringing? And maybe it's just a sequencing. Right. Maybe it's the fact that we got Bayonetta and then shortly after it we're getting Donkey Kong. Maybe that's it, right? But the more that we tap ports on the shoulder, the more it frightens me that there isn't a larger back catalog or a catalog ready, right? We know we have Kirby coming up here in a couple months. Yeah. We don't really know. Tennis is an unknown quantity in relation to what it's like, right? And then we're kind of we're out in the field, right? We know all we know is Prime is coming at some time.
Yeah, and this puts us into an interesting place. I was just going to jump into, and Luke Lore put it in the chat as well here, where it's almost like a trade-off. And of course, we're looking backwards. We've got the benefit of hindsight right now, where we go, well, now what do we do? We've got all of our big games, but would we be in a situation where we have the 20 games that you mentioned that are coming out every single week? Like, that's a benefit. That's something that we wanted. And I honestly don't know how you get to the place that the Switch is in right now without doing exactly what the first year was. So in many ways, while I like the retrospective of would we do anything differently, like, I am of the mind that the plan went perfectly well, and that this is a really great place for Nintendo to be in. I don't know that there's too many people really regretting having a Switch right now, and there's always something exciting. I think maybe even next week we could jump into something like where, now what? Like, because I think there are some things that you talk about here where if you insert them into year one, I don't know that year one plays out the same way, but if you go into year two, now we're starting to talk a little bit, and maybe it's it carries on, because we're really just kind of like worried about what the future holds. But the benefit. Sorry, go ahead, Joseph.
And I think all we got to do is just. I think I see several people is wait a week or two. Usually we hear stuff in February, and so. I just saw, like, on Facebook. I'm not here to be like speculation, random source. Okay, speculation. Put your tinfoil hats on. Wait, or your squid hats.
Your squid hat.
There you go. So I'll just hold it. So in Nintendo New York right now, they have a Pokemon event happening on Tuesday. It's a Pokemon celebration. I wonder what that is. It could be something really small, I think, expected, but I also think maybe we could hear something, because it's unlike Nintendo to go too long without saying anything.
Yeah, I mean, if we're playing the speculation hat card there, I mean, I think everyone's knowing that the online service is coming in September. Yeah. The statement that we need some large online game to justify said costs. The rumor mill is spinning that it's either a Pokemon game for the Switch or Smash. Right now, the cards seem to be tipping closer to a Pokemon game than Smash. But.
Yeah. Oh my goodness! Something just happened.
Speaking of smashing something.
Now, baby is definitely awake if he wasn't before. The best part about this show, guys, is that before Bobby and I would always have to agree if we ran Nintendo, what would we do? That's not the case anymore. There's too many of us. We'll never 100% agree, but everybody knows. I think at this point what we would do in year one, maybe we would have done differently. But in the interest of time. Especially Justin's time. We got to get you back to drinking, buddy. I don't know. You only got one beer with you.
Large.
Let us continue on to topic Rush. Mr. Jacob Rush, do you want to go ahead and I know this one is very near and dear to your heart, so I was glad to hear you bring up this topic when you mentioned it to me earlier.
Yeah. Well, so I was like Justin, when Sean asked me this, I took a couple days to think about it, and I was actually talking with Ryan Friday night. I was like, man, what should I bring to the table? And, I was like, maybe people think that's stupid. I'm like, you know what? No, it's about if I ran Nintendo.
That's right.
And if you listen to my show, Nintendo Nostalgia, Ryan and I, Clay's show, we, I am a massive Nintendo Rare fan. Most of my nostalgia comes from the late 90s, 64 days, and then, even some of the late Super Nintendo days. And I was playing Mr. Jesse Armstrong, who's a big fan of the show and supports us actually here. He was over my house last Thursday night, and he never played Donkey Kong Country 2. He's never even seen it. So I popped it in and I showed him it, and that Rare logo came up. And then I was just like, man, Nintendo and Rare. I go back down my old memory lane. Like, they used to just be partners, Batman and Robin, Goku and Vegeta. And if I ran Nintendo, we would be buying Rare back from Microsoft, or we would be working out some deal to have Rare and Microsoft to share, or Nintendo and Microsoft to share Rare. A lot of people are probably saying you're an idiot right now. They think I'm crazy. It'll never happen. I laugh when people say it'll never happen, because you know what? At one time, you never thought Nintendo would lose Rare either, So I think this is a great, strong topic to talk about. It's something that I dream of. I am the king of wishful thinking, and I would love it.
King of wishful thinking. I love that self-proclaimed title, man. That's awesome.
Well, I'll just say real quick why I think this could work out.
Sure.
And people are going to hate me for this.
I doubt that.
I firmly believe that Xbox. I don't think Rare style of games is for the largest portion of Xbox's audience. When they bought Rare way back in the day, I felt like obviously they were really a shooter system, and you've got a lot of sports styles. And
right.
To be fair, Xbox has grown their base a little bit. They're not just a bro system as much. I do think that's still a majority of their fan base, but I don't. You look at Rare's games, you look at their style. They belong on a Nintendo system, and they just did not sell as well in the past. And when they first came out, that's why their games flopped. Like you look, as soon as they sold on Nintendo, I think Viva Pinata might have been the only one that really sold well.
That game's really good.
But then they got slapped. Yeah, it was a good game. Other than that, though, their other games did not sell to the tier that they thought that they would. It was like they did on Nintendo, and then they got slapped with the Kinect Sports sticker for a decade almost, and now Sea of Thieves is about to come out, so hopefully they can turn things around. But I think every time I see them, people still think of the 64. They think of Nintendo, and Banjo-Kazooie is my personal franchise of all time. Banjo-Kazooie was originally made by Rare, owned by Nintendo. They made it. Wait.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna cut you off here, Sean. Why are you shaking your head at this?
Because I'm not at Jacob. Bobby's in the chat talking trash. He says we've got an Xbox running the show, a Sony pony trying to talk Nintendo, and a drunken Nintendo dad and a wishful dream. What has happened to the show? Bobby, what do you expect, man?
Sell a red hat, Bobby. Sell a red hat, all right?
That's hilarious.
Make Nintendo great again.
No, Banjo-Kazooie.
It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be huge coming back. It's great.
That's funny.
I'm so sorry, guys.
It's okay. I lost my train of thought now, though.
Yeah.
I like Banjo-Kazooie. I was saying that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I think that was made. Oh, that was made from Rare for Nintendo. That was. Yeah. And then Nintendo gave them back to Rare as a parting gift, which is one of the dumbest things Nintendo's ever done. They gave it back to Rare, and it's now on Nintendo system. So I would like to work out a deal. I think with Phil Spencer leading Xbox now, he obviously wants to work with other systems. They have cross-platform with each other on some games. I could totally see this working out in the benefit of both companies, as in the Nintendo, and I think you can say Rare fell off a little bit when they left Nintendo. I think the true magic of Rare and Nintendo was not Rare by themselves. I think it was when Nintendo worked with Rare and they utilized their talents and they brought out the best in Rare. That's what I think what happened, because as soon as they fell off, Rare started to fall off.
Yeah, Patrick in the chat's bringing up a couple good points here, and maybe this is something we can get into, guys, where he says just buy Platonic, it's a lot cheaper.
Yes.
If you're talking about specifically the talent. Now, I think this is where the conversation gets really interesting, and Joseph, we'll throw it to you on this one, because I think Jacob's talking about one thing. You want the franchises back. Like, you want things, maybe specifically Banjo-Kazooie and those things back on Nintendo, and then maybe games like that as well, and games like that being Yooka-Laylee. So I'm not sure, like, which is better. It seems to me that, like, Yooka-Laylee didn't really pan out. So, like, you're getting games that are like Banjo-Kazooie, but you want the franchises back. And I think that there is something you had when you proposed this topic to me to begin with, is talking about sharing a little bit. And I think to satisfy sort of everybody, Joseph, what do you think of this? Like, what if there was some sort of franchise sharing back and forth, that maybe the old stuff that was on Nintendo can go back and forth? Maybe that even gets us back to what happened with GoldenEye too.
Right. So I think when it comes to Rare, Rare was one of the greatest developers of their time. You know, you're thinking all the way back from SNES to the 64. That was their golden years, really was. And so, you know, they have made stumbles. They've had successes on the Microsoft console. We can make fun of the Kinect all we want, and I will join you there as well. But we can't also ignore the fact that things like, you know, Kinect Sports sold. You know, that's why they were there, is because that was one of the only titles that sold gangbusters on the Kinect, and they ran that series dry.
And Xbox desperately needed to have those, like, even though it's a complete ripoff of the Mii's.
Microsoft, yeah.
Yeah, Microsoft desperately needed to have the Avatar ripoff. Like, imagine Xbox for anybody who's on that system. Imagine if they never had that. Like, we laugh and think like it didn't amount to anything. It didn't sell systems or anything like that. But it's a very different console without what Rare brought there, that creativity and that life, that character.
But I also think this. So, in Phil we trust. I love Phil. I think he's a great he's a great head of Xbox right now. He's the guy we need. As gamers, and listen to his speech in the DICE Awards because it's fantastic. But he, I think, realizes fans' plea of you have Rare, and it doesn't mean you have everybody at Rare. Just like Rare itself or developers itself goes through developers like crazy. It's about the culture that you build in a development studio that keeps that life alive. So I think Phil has realized the IP that they have or possibly can have with the studio. I think they realize that this studio means something to people, and that's why right now I don't see them selling any properties from Rare. I don't see them selling Rare off or giving them any type of deal with Nintendo. Right now they're trying to push Sea of Thieves like crazy, and it looks like there is some forward momentum there. Because it's the first IP out of Microsoft, I feel like, this generation that has positive buzz for it before it's come out. Mm-hmm. And there's some worries, but nonetheless positive. And so I think Microsoft needs them, and I think they're hearing, they know people want another Banjo game. They've teased it before. I think they know what they have, and they're waiting with their cards. I do think Rare might be working on more than one game. And I don't see even Nintendo going, hey, can we buy Banjo, or could we buy, this, that, or Killer Instinct or anything like that? Because that isn't, though Rare made some amazing Nintendo games, I can never see Nintendo making those games because those aren't the games Nintendo makes. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's my rant.
Justin, what do you think, man? Do you think like Rare would actually make for a better Switch ecosystem?
No. I don't.
That's basically the question, really. Like, as I think we're talking a little bit about like nostalgia from Jacob's perspective, of course. Yeah. But like, does having Rare make it a better year 2 or year 3 or year 4?
Yeah, I don't think so. And I think, and here's the thing is I do love the products that Rare put out, right? I'm not just being a jerk for being a jerk's sake. Donkey Kong Country is my favorite Super Nintendo game of all time. So we all had that conversation. I loved Banjo-Kazooie. The amount of hours I sunk into GoldenEye is absolutely mad, right? These were defining games in the 90s for myself. Absolutely was. But I think what we're doing here is we are chasing a level of nostalgia that we can't really obtain. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, and a lot of people said it in the comment here, I think the better opportunity, I think, is to purchase a company like Platonics, right? Who I would say has the spirit of hello. I think has the spirit of, or the essence of, right? And understands that. I think Yooka-Laylee is an example of it. But it's a young studio, young company that you could further develop and could be able to assist in making their own ability. But I will say this: I am actually kind of against the idea of Nintendo buying studios. Yes. Right. I would rather they farm, because I think once you pull yourself into that ecosystem, right? Once a company is fully owned by Nintendo, I think sometimes that creativeness, the uniqueness begins to dissipate, right? As opposed to let me farm out my IP to a company, right? Imagine this, Jake. This might blow your mind. If Nintendo announced tomorrow, we're really excited to let you know that the next Donkey Kong Country game is being done by Playtronics, right? That is probably what's more exciting, right? I think when you can say, here's an IP, we trust you, we like what you're doing, we're not going to own you, we want your spin on it, we want your flavor on it. I think that's Yacht Club's a great example. We all love every Yacht Club game to be in front of Nintendo, or Nintendo own it. But if you do that, Yacht Club loses being Yacht Club. What makes them awesome? Same thing with a TUI, right? Great example. Sure, I'd love for them to bring stuff in, but again, by them doing that, they lose something. They lose who they are, and I think that's that's dangerous, I think, for an organization and a company. So I love the idea of it. I like what you're saying. I'd rather see them say, let's farm out IPs. Microsoft will not let go of Banjo. I think they will see Banjo like dead before they let go of it. Now I will also say the other thing. Yeah. Weirder things have happened. Let's think about this. We are playing Minecraft, a Microsoft-owned property, on the Nintendo Switch that recently had an update patch that allowed Banjo in there and other Xbox characters.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So it ain't crazy, but I mean,
I think that's probably an appropriate level of sharing and cross-play and everything like that. Like, you're not going to get a dedicated game on one system versus the other, but just a little tickle of that nostalgia bone. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I don't think we really need another new, and maybe people will hate me for this. Do we need another Banjo-Kazooie? I don't know, man. But maybe.
Yes, we do.
I think, and I know this sounds awful, but I don't think we do, and I think Yooka-Laylee proves it.
I kind of agree, man.
That is the truest of true. Hey, listen, we couldn't get Banjo, so here it is, and they made a game from the '90s, and with the '90s.
But Joe, you played Ratchet and Clank, man. So maybe and it's not exactly the same thing, but like we maybe would have written off the mascot kind of like couple platformer altogether. But Banjo-Kazooie or Ratchet and Clank last year. The year before, I think, was really good. Yeah,
yeah, but I think that thing is the difference between Ratchet. I think is time that has gone by. I mean, like Shadow of the Colossus is a great example, right? That game is from how long? But I think revamping controls, making sure it looks as shiny as possible, letting it. Yeah, you want something, you have that nostalgia for it, but also improving it as time goes by. And I don't think Yooka-Laylee did that properly, because that's the one. Never played it. I could be completely wrong, but that's a lot of what I heard about it.
You know what I love about this topic is no matter what we decide throughout this entire show, we have given Nintendo nostalgia, I think, 17 shout-outs. Like, Jacob, you got your time's worth, man. We gave you I don't know how many. Like, man, we're really stroking the nostalgia, and now, like, I've said it to you before. I have to give you credit. You now own the word, and I don't know, like, maybe Nintendo dads are moving in on dads, but like that's a big one. You nailed down nostalgia, man. So good for you on that one.
Thank you. I have to say this. I mean, I don't want to. I disagree. I know Yooka-Laylee didn't go as grand as everyone had hoped. I really enjoyed it. You have to remember that Playtonic is an indie team. Still, they're not a AAA. Everyone viewed them as a AAA team like Rare because they were from Rare. The truth is, though, it's what I said earlier. I think the magic that came with Rare and Nintendo was when Nintendo had their hands in it. And Justin, I 100%, and to whoever said in the comments that if we can't get Rare, I want the next best thing, and that is Playtonic, because those are the core guys that worked. And I think if Nintendo is with them, it'll work. And you look at Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey is the evolution of what 64 was today. Yooka-Laylee, Playtonic, to be fair, promised that they were giving a 90s 3D platformer, and that's what they did, and that's what the issues were. If you don't want to dive into the past, like I can play my 64 games just fine and have no issue. People today, though, don't want that. I think the next Yooka-Laylee game needs to be what a game like that is.
Here's my question for you, Jacob, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I haven't picked up Yooka-Laylee. It has been sitting in my wish list for a while. Mm-hmm. Would you consider it, and here's maybe a question, would you consider it an indie game?
Today, like an indie game for today?
Would you consider it an indie game from an indie studio? When you look at what was put into it, the factors, would you consider it indie or would you consider it AAA?
I would consider it a very good indie game. I think it's what they put into it, I think it's like an amazing feat for the size of team they have.
Right. So you'd put up in their lines of stuff like Faye, SteamWorld Dig 2, right? Like high-end indie. Yeah, right. So the problem I have with those, they walked in with the swagger like they were a AAA team and are pricing me at a AAA price in an eShop. You drop that down to 20 bones and I'm okay with the quality of a game that you would have got from that. But when you roll in there with a 50, you got to show me better than that. And I think that's the issue I have a little bit with it.
Was that how much it cost?
I just went to the
$40 originally, right?
I think it's 40, so it might be 50 or 50 Canadian potentially. But I mean, that is still a higher price for an indie game.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I see your point, and like I said, this game definitely, if this was the 90s, it would be considered a AAA game, like for what is in it. But that's a great point. I think for the Switch version, just like with other games, we get the full price, and other systems get this system. Like Kevin from PSVG didn't buy the game because it's like $10 on PlayStation or something like that.
Yeah, right. Gary's asking the question. Indies are self-released, so technically, would you could have been published by 17 count? Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing, Gary. You're absolutely right. Like publishing through a third party like Team 17, you're absolutely right because it considers itself an indie. However, when you're price pointing it as high as it was, I think that's where some of the disparity comes in regarding the quality and content that's available.
Yeah,
that's true. I would, if anything, at least let's get Nintendo working with Platonic directly on things. I would love to see the next Donkey Kong games come from them. Their artists is the same artists who gave us the current DK world that we know.
Right.
Yeah,
Bring back them Kremlings.
I could legit see that happening as well. Like they needed just a little bit more support for the polish and maybe just a level of standard. Like Nintendo needed to apply a seal of quality. Wait, it's right here. I just had it on my thing.
Quality.
Yeah, but it's an official Nintendo licensed product, the quality seal. I have it. I've got one ready here. Just at all times, you want one. You just want to make sure that if you're ever in a situation where there's something bad happen, you can make it better just by going to patreon.com/makeusbetter and also putting a little sticker on there.
Well, interestingly enough, though, I don't want to get into the gritty with this, but Nintendo did. Nintendo did get their hands dirty with Platonics before the game was released.
Yeah, that's why it's the best version of the game.
Because of how it was being launched, they had to actually provide a level of assistance. So the fact they've already got a little bit of a relationship there, like you don't really typically hear that of like Nintendo came in and helped us in a lot of listen, we've all talked to a couple third-party developers and indie developers. Nintendo typically don't play that game, right?
Nintendo don't play that.
Right.
So I think that's interesting and it may actually fuel the fire there for you, Jacob, that we may see more relationship with Nintendo or at least IPs being moved over and worked on by that studio.
Well, they're sitting on a boatload of cash, man, and money talks. Who knows what could happen? I could see some big moves being made. I think Nintendo fans need a bit of a shakeup, and something along these lines could probably do it. Guys, I think that's going to do it.
The 3DS alive.
That's gonna close out episode 90 of If You're a Nintendo. I would say that is all, but I don't want to copy the guru himself. Thank you, Mr. Masson and Mr. Rush. Tell everybody, Justin, where they can find you and all the things, every random episode that you're on your podcast over at Nintendo Dads.
Sure, yeah. So if you want to just follow me, just watching me explore Ireland, drink beer, and be stupid, follow me on @Masson23, MASSON23. But of course, I'm a co-host on the show Nintendo Dads, and that's @Nintendo Dads. We're a weekly podcast found on iTunes, Stitcher, all that kind of stuff. But that's stuff we do.
I'm always excited. They need to put like a notice in the show notes when you're back. Like it should be part of the title. Justin's back, because I definitely I get a little perked up, man, when you return to the show.
I'm glad. Thank you. We're gonna try and make it a little bit more regular, and we'll see what happens.
I think you have to either time travel or move back home. One of those two. I'm not sure which is easier. One of those is easier. I'm not sure which. Mr. Jacob Rush, Nintendo Nostalgia, man. Thank you so much for being here as we revive the show in the most Capri fashion. Thank you for being here. Tell everybody all the things you're up to and the new stuff that's happening at Nintendo Nostalgia.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on This is awesome. We had to get Bobby out of the way so I could finally get an invite on the show.
That's right. Now we can have anybody we want. Bobby just needs to step aside. Anybody can come on now. We start with the highlights with you guys, with heavy hitters, with the Nintendo nostalgia and Nintendo dads on at the same time. It's not even fair.
That's funny. I help run a show called Nintendo Nostalgia. We're always on Facebook. We have YouTube. Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Nintendo Nostalgia IN. It's usually what our login is. We're on Dayspace as well. We're on iTunes, Google Play, if you want to find us there. And we have I have two co-hosts that run the show with me. It's Mr. Ryan Black and Mr. Clay Howard. They're both busy guys, but they're fantastic co-hosts, and I love doing the show with them. But no, we have some stuff cooking. We're really trying to get our YouTube page up and running more, and we're trying to get our backlog of episodes on there and start to do some more content through that. But we got some new stuff on the horizon that we can't quite talk about just yet, but we're excited about doing it. And if you want to find me personally, you can find me at NOS, that's NOS Jacob73. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. You can add me. Just don't be a weirdo or I'll block you. And then, and if you want my Switch friend code to send a message, and we can get that arranged too. So, but yeah, that's where I'm from, and I'm just ecstatic to be on, and I hope I can get on a lot more. I apologize for my loud daughter who busted in on the show earlier and is crying now.
You're all right, man. I've got like furniture falling over in the next room, so like God knows what's happening outside here.
I got a dog barking.
Yeah, like this is it, guys.
I'm going for second beers.
This is where we're starting. Episode 90, episode 100. Hopefully, we'll be back on track. Joseph, make us better. Where can we find you and all of your greatness?
You know, I would say go to Bad Bit Games. Check us out. We talk all things video games. I would say go check out the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, or support us on Patreon/Make Us Better. But I was wondering,
but you won't say any of that.
I'm not saying any of it, Sean. If the Nintendo dads and the Mega dads got into a fight, who would win? I want comments. And
I will tell you right now.
Yes.
Eric.
Really?
I love that inside joke. We're not even going to go ahead and explain it. Guys, thank you so much for being here on the revival of If We Ran Nintendo. Hopefully my computer, my actual desktop needs a revival as well. So stay tuned next week. Hopefully this will get better. Thank you to everybody who supports us on patreon.com/makeusbetter. You can subscribe here at youtube.com/WeTheNerdy. The show will live here for the time being. You can find me, of course, on Twitter at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. That is all. Peace out, Bobby and Preston. I'm going to go ahead and cut the feed. Probably. I don't know what I'm doing with this whole thing. You know, at some point I just do the whole transition and then I'm still talking. People can still hear me.
See you later.